The game is already over. AI is here. It's going to take over. And if you haven't been paying attention, unfortunately, you're going to be left behind. Now, I'm kidding, but I am half kidding. This was actually one of the initial responses that when I was telling Kevin, who's on my team, he's 20 years old. When I told him about this, he was like, well, shit, I'm completely out of luck. Like, I'm not ever going to make it anymore. People are going to take advantage of AI and they're going to get much further ahead than me, which, by the way, is a non-starter. It's a really bad thought process to have about this technology, because what you should really think about is, how can I use this to make myself better? Now, I want to share with you and kind of bring you up to date on this technology. I've been using it the entire month. I started pretty much 1 week into its release, so I waited a little while and I kind of regret it. But the moment I got into it, I was hooked right away. And I can prove it to you by showing you a little bit about how much I've played with it. So what I'm talking about is actually an informed message. It's not, me coming out of the blue without really knowing what's up. First off, I do work in the tech industry. I manage a portfolio of large companies, and I am I'm partly responsible for their recurring revenue business. So I've been working in the tech industry for almost 10 years. So I've been very close to the cutting edge of technology for a while now, which we'll get into anyway. But let me just show you a little bit about my own personal use with GPT. So for example, ChatGPT uses threads. So if you can see on the left-hand side, I've been working with it. The moment they released threads, it started to track my conversations. But each of these threads, I can tell you, it just keeps going. Like, I have a whole bunch. Not only that, I've been taking my notes. I have a whole OpenAI folder with 51 notes in there in the last 30 days. Many of these topics I've come to actually use to create my own content, plan out my thoughts for my brand. And it's really been a tool for me where I'm able to actually incorporate my own ideas, like the things that I'm thinking about. I'm able to actually think through those ideas using this technology. That's been the biggest advantage to me. It's like having my own brainstorming counterpart. And it's very intelligent. It can hold context. It understands the things that I'm saying, remembers what I've told it before. And here's the thing. Yes, this technology is here, but it's still not as easy to use if you don't know how to ask questions properly. So one of the things that I think I've improved in the last 30 days is using it to ask better and better questions. And I think that's a really huge advantage to this piece of technology. It actually helps you think through your problems, and you can get to a point very quickly within like a few back and forth responses where you're like, well, shit, now what do I want to know? I kind of figured it out now. So you can kind of get to a point where before you would do hours and hours of research to get to a place where you're finally like, okay, now I know. Well, this technology gets you to know very quickly, right? Now it's about like, well, what do I extract from it? What's my wisdom out of this technology that I've just used? So what AI has effectively done, things like ChatGPT, is if they've democratized knowledge completely, because we were living in the information age. Like Google and all of that stuff is information. When you go to all these websites and blogs and all of that is information. So we were living in the information era for a long time. But things like this AI are able to synthesize that information and actually present it to you in form of knowledge. What do I mean? It's like when you talk to someone and they know about a subject matter, you're able to question and start from where you are in your understanding. You can start asking questions and they can give you back more and more based on what you're asking. It's very contextual. That's true knowledge that you're getting back. You're not just getting a bunch of information and then have to sift through it to figure out what it is it all means. So what this does is it has democratized knowledge. And I think the next phase of it is really going to be, how do you then go from here to wisdom? Because AI isn't really giving you the final wisdom, right? It doesn't actually make a decision for you. It doesn't actually have like a final say or an opinion. So it's still up to you to extract this knowledge and then come up with your wisdom by actually using it, applying it. And that's really where I think it's really going to become fascinating. Again, this is a very informal video. I don't really care about the quality or the editing really here. I'm just sitting here quickly getting this done because I just think it's just a fascinating topic. So I want to share with you, I'm going to play some parts of videos that I think are actually really good at explaining this, and then we can talk about them more. Okay, so let's take a look at this video. I think it's one of the good ones out there that has done a pretty good job of comprehensively explaining the things that I would have explained if I was making this video as well. So I'm just going to go off of this. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, and I'm just going to find out the things that I want to elaborate on and share those with you. So again, not trying to be very formal or fancy here.
to a million users. It took Facebook 2 years. It took Instagram 2 years.
Okay, so the first thing he's talking about is in 5 days, this platform had 1 million people get onto it. Now, the thing that you also need to remember is it's a very expensive piece of technology. Like Microsoft is one of the early investors. They gave him over $1 billion funding. But what I believe they actually did, because I work in the tech world, is I think they gave them compute hours on Azure Cloud, which is where this runs. So they gave them a whole lot of compute hours ahead of time so that they could continue to scale this technology. But from my understanding, and there's no clear answer here, but I think every query that you ask ChatGPT, returns back, uh, is costing, multiple dollars, like tens of dollars, maybe more. So it's going to be very expensive. And, we're sitting here on December 29th as I record this. This technology is going to go away from the mass public's hands. But I do know that I think people are going to be able to use it in one way or another. And here's how I think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of companies, some of them we've already seen. I'm sure you've seen a million videos talking about business opportunities you can start with ChatGPT. Well, if you don't have access to ChatGPT after the end of the month, then what the fuck are you going to do? So that's kind of stupid, dead in the water content. But um, I think what's actually going to happen, though, is there's going to be a lot of companies who are going to pay ChatGPT, or rather OpenAI, to use their APIs to build things on top of and integrate them within their applications. So, I can see a use case down the line where your note-taking app, your favorite note-taking app, has a format of GPT built into it. And I think there's going to be a lot of very niche specific apps. And here's what I mean by that. So if I show you guys this, this came out pretty early in the whole GPT world phenomenon days. Let me see if I can see exactly what day this was published so I can go off of that. But I don't see it obviously here. So basically what this is, these are chat GPT prompts. So it's a chat interface, right? So what you can do is you can actually give it prompts. Now, many of you probably don't know about programming, but it can act as a Linux terminal. It can act as a JavaScript console. Travel guide, check plagiarism, right? So you'd be like, hey, people are using AI to generate essays. Well, you can use AI to grade essays and say how legit it is and what the grade should be, right? You can act as an advertiser, like it's done for people that create ad scripts. Game is done. Like you can make GPT act in that way, act as a storyteller, comedian, motivational coach. My point of showing you this giant list of potential prompts is I think what's going to happen is many businesses are going to pay OpenAI, and we're going to be using this technology, which we all got access to this month for free with no limitations. We're going to be able to work with this technology, but it's going to be proxied through other applications, other pieces of technology that are going to be incorporating that in it. And I think those are going to become very use case specific, right? Maybe there'll be a fitness AI, there'll be a mental health AI, there will be a web or programming driven AI, right? So there's going to be a whole bunch of that that's coming. Now I hope I'm completely wrong. My personal wish to the universe and to God really is to make this technology available again next year, but charge the enterprises an arm and a leg to use it. Charge companies a lot to like license it and get a subscription out of it, but please give it to the average person, because the people that come from a low income background but are very hungry to learn, I think everyone in the world needs this at their fingertips, as a kid growing up today. And I think that should not be taken away. That's my personal opinion. And I know it's going to be expensive, but I really hope that there's going to be a way for the average person to afford paying some sort of subscription. Maybe it's like you pay, a couple $100 and you get like a certain number of times you can use it. So if you get like 1,000 replies for a couple $100, something like that, that's still pretty expensive, but hey, at least you get to use it, rather than not use it. So this is what I really love about this, is that a lot of people are already understanding the complexities of the things you can do with it and how you can make them simpler by using this technology. So why does it matter in 5 days that 1 million people used it? Well, one of the reasons I'm bringing that up is because it's so damn expensive. The cost of running these queries in a short amount of time is very, very high. So people are going to have a hard time getting access to it at first after this trial phase is done. But the way I think you can still get access to it is actually going to be through these third-party apps. Now, I don't know any of them that are really good. I'm still researching that. And if you guys find some, let me know. Maybe I'll make more videos about that. Okay, so let's keep it going. So it talks about how do you operate business, right?
tin
Let's see.
hat guy. But I think if you actually think through the logic, there's some
See what he
really
says.
alarming conclusions that you can come to. AI is going to be the biggest shift in our lifetime. It is the equivalent, in my opinion, of the moon landing, except the only difference is that it will actually change all of our lives rather than just being a picture to say that we won the Cold War. Different than the internet, phone systems, television, because what those did was they reshuffled the workforce. This has the ability to remove or eliminate the workforce altogether.
Yep.
Cryptocurrencies in
But
general
don't be
had the
scared.
potential to overturn the
You can still
financial
be better
institution.
by
AI
using
has the
this.
potential to overturn the human institution.
Yeah.
I try to convince people.
I actually think a lot of colleges are going to go under because of this type of technology, because there's no reason for quote unquote knowledge to be locked away with teachers who have read more books than you. And I think it makes no sense for that to be the reason why you can't get that knowledge, right? The internet was a huge boom into that, right? People that were very driven can find anything on the internet. But I think synthesizing it so that the person who's not the best at researching but does have a curiosity and wants to learn can now do that through this technology. Let's keep going.
To slow down.
So anyway, this is all
Become
doom and
about
gloom. Great.
computers do things that normally need a human brain. AI is a type of technology that helps machines or computers do things that
This is
normally need a
important.
human brain to do. Stuff like learning, solving problems, making decisions, and understanding what
Great.
we see or hear. The thing that made the release on November 30th so wild is that ChatGPT democratized access to AI for the first time because it had an interface that we could all use.
Yes, and I think the next evolution of the interface is obviously going to be able to talk to it, like I'm talking to you on this video, and it's going to be able to synthesize that. You know, that's not too far because we can already do, you know, speech to text or text to speech back and forth. So it's just a matter of time before the interface from chat. And actually, I've kind of been using ChatGPT as that, where I'll do voice to text into the chat box. And it does work for the most part because it understands like grammatical issues and things like that. So even if the voice to text is not perfect, it still figures it out. Let's keep going. I think what I really liked about this video is the fact that he's talking a lot about how with ChatGPT and other AI technologies, you can actually make artificial videos because we already have AI that can make images. And what is a video? A video is basically a series of images. And if you can make a whole bunch of images, like Dolly does.
Generator. And so if
for
I say,
example,
hey, give me a guy smoking a cigar, looking over a beach where there's a dragon.
Right. Cool. So now I can make vision. So I can also make.
Now make it in Van Gogh painting style. Crazy. Now make me 10 versions of that. Now if you think about.
So this is basically what he's talking about. Is like you can actually make a lot. You know, what is a movie, right?
And then you'd have a video because
it's a bunch of photos or pictures sequenced together. So it's going to get to a place where this thing can understand not just our words, but also sounds and video. And it's going to get to a place where it is really, you know, going to become cyborg, robotic, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, this is iteration one of what Tesla's working on. But down the line, it's going to look pretty much human-like, right? So we already have Boston Dynamics doing fantastic things with robots that humans can never do. So it's just a matter of time when all these technologies combine is basically what we're saying here, right? Super intelligence is what they're talking about. This is where AI is going to be smarter than humans. And it's going to happen within the next couple of years, you know, because this training data, it continues to grow. It's learning from our feedback. Just wait till it incorporates other data sets all into one. You know, OpenAI is going to be unstoppable. I think Google is already working on something. It's kind of funny to me that the Google CEO sounds the alarm to talk about how this is like a huge code red ChatGPT thing. Meanwhile, they're doing the same shit under the hood, and you guys have been kind of basically become. You know, think about how like ads work and everything like that. We've pretty much become, you know, Google slaves in a sense because they decide what you get to see. Whatever they want to serve you based on the data they have about you. They're using AI to triangulate your interests, create an interest graph based on you, a knowledge graph that talks to your specific types of behavior on the internet, the things you click on, the type of things you purchase. You're using Chrome. I mean, all of that shit's in there, right? So it's kind of funny to me that the CEO came out and talked shit about GPT when basically you're doing the same shit and now you're shitting on your competitor. So, fuck, kind of funny. But yeah, super intelligence is gonna happen. You can watch more about that. This is the guy, by the way, who started this whole thing, Sam Altman. Brilliant dude. Totally understands that what he's made right now is gonna ruin a lot of people's jobs, and universal basic income is gonna be real because of AI, and it's gonna be a scary time in the near future to see the shift in paradigm taking place, but it's inevitable. So you can, hold on to your hats and brace for impact.
uh, AI cannot supersede humans.
At that point, the world
Actually, what he said right there is
AI
actually really
itself is
important. I
smarter
want you
than
guys to hear
all
this.
humans put together.
I think it takes like unique human arrogance to believe that AI cannot supersede humans.
I believe it takes unique human arrogance to believe that AI cannot supersede humans. Like, how accurate is that statement? We all in the comments are talking shit about how, this or that, but it's like, as someone who works in the industry, I can say there's obviously going to be shortcomings in the near future as they try to scale this, because technology, one thing you can guarantee is it fails. It doesn't work properly all the time. There's outages, there's issues. All of that is going to still be there. None of that has been changed. I mean, the fact that everything still works on power and we don't have scalable power in the world, that's going to change. He talks a little bit about, Alex talks about in this video that we might be able to figure out fusion power, nuclear fusion power, which we've been trying to do for a while. Yeah, we might get there. I'm hopeful. But at the same time, until we get there, like, you have to understand that energy is a huge factor in technological scale and consumption. Like, servers require power. Okay. Like, heat that's generated requires a lot of cooling, to put it incredibly simply, right? There's a lot more complexities involved. But at the same time, you know, uh, it is going to be happening regardless of if it's a bumpy ride or if it's a incredibly smooth transition. So let's keep going. Okay, I think this topic is definitely worth mentioning, which is singularity, which essentially means that we're going to get to a place where technology or AI is advancing so fast that it's going to be just all the progress that humans have made up until now in time will basically be covered within a significantly shorter period of time. And that's what is in short form singularity, where AI is just bonkers smarter than humans. So listen to it a little bit, you might get it.
Point in which technological progress and artificial intelligence will advance to the point where humanity will undergo a transformation beyond which it cannot be seen.
The first truly intelligent machine will be the last invention that humanity needs to make.
Many people postulate that that's the point where it will become either self-aware, it will start to make its own decisions and ignore us. Well, it won't really want to kill us because it has no reason to, for the same reason that we don't want to kill ants, but if we build a highway, we destroy some anthills. So it's just gonna do what it's gonna do.
Some robots will eat some jobs, and some robots will kill humans. You've already
Fuck.
seen that with self-driving cars. But when you look at the trend as a whole, I think it's going to be incredibly positive for humanity.
This is why Elon and Sam Altman and those guys are trying to align our...
Okay, so there's a whole lot that they're going to talk about in this video about, what Elon Musk is doing. I'm going to spare you with all that, though I am very much aware of what Elon has been up to with all of his companies. I happen to be doing business with several of them. Most recently, I even worked with Twitter at the time he was acquiring it, which I'll share my unique prediction is it's going to be integrated into the Neuralink at some point down the line. And it's going to be part of how we all communicate socially when we're all plugged in to computers in our brain. So that's going to happen. That's just my prediction. So anyway, this one is really important also, is to understand the sanity of what you see, because seeing is no longer believing, and it shouldn't be, because deep fakes are very real. They've been around. I've been watching this space for a while. You can kind of still tell a little bit of like, I can see that the words didn't quite match the mouth movement there. So you can kind of tell, but wait, this model is refining and it's going to become so good because it's AI that can study all the social media posts, all the content that's ever been created by humans, and it can generate the most viral, the most hard hitting, the most quote unquote authentic, even though it's fake, people that we would be listening to that are social media influencers, and not to mention taking political figures and making them say or do whatever it is that any bad acting actor could want to do. So it's very important to have some sort of gates around this technology. I don't think it can be given away for free like it is right now. And of course, it needs to be trained, but you can also break the training of an AI. That's the thing. It's like it's very easy right now in its current state to make it do things that are technically against its code of conduct, you could say, right? It's like, oh, well, there's been examples, I'm not going to say really specifically, but there's been examples where it's been able to make very nefarious plans to do things that are just terrible and information that really shouldn't be that easy to access in terms of like making destructive things, weapons, and things like that. But now with a quick ask, anybody can get it. So there has to be some gates. So that's one of the other topics to understand that I think is really valuable mentioning. I have to comment on this part. As the Tesla robots get further and further advanced, they're going to look like hot girls and they're going to be sold, and people are going to fall in love with robots because they're going to have the perfect personality based on exactly what you are looking for and be able to talk and be just fucking insanely realistic. And yeah, that might come. And right now, I'm seeing startups that are basically sending messages on dating apps for you, great openers by studying the data of social media apps to send you basically the perfect message to the date that you want, and they can basically set it up for you. I mean, that's all already in the works now. So it's going to be interesting to see how the game plays out in the dating world in the near future. So, if you're in that category, stay tuned. More to come. All right. So this example I wanted to bring in, it's a different video, but I think it will kind of bring home the whole point of what I'm making in terms of how things have changed forever and they're never going back. So listen to this.
GPT said, look, I work for Elon Musk, but I haven't been doing much for the last week, so I need you to write me 10 bullet points about what I probably would have done as a engineer at Twitter. What 10 things
So it understands context.
were productive and valuable. And oh, if you don't mind, write me the accompanying computer code that goes with each project. And it did that too, 3 seconds, and the computer code works.
Yep.
Right, and so, okay.
So it's like, okay, what is the value anymore? If you're smart enough to think about what needs to be done, you can very easily interact with AI and get it done. So you don't think the big companies know that? Well, if they don't, they're figuring it out right now. And it's going to affect most likely even my work, right? So I have to find a way. That's why I've been on top of this shit from day one, is because now I'm one of the people who has significant experience with ChatGPT and AI technology because I've been using it constantly every single day since it's been out. And I've been trying to sharpen myself because, again, I've tested other people that I know who I've been like, hey, check this thing out. I give them some context, but then they open and they just don't understand it. They're like, okay, this is kind of cool, but I don't see how it works really. I don't see the value in it. That's fine. There's going to be a lot of people in that category, and I don't want you to be one of them, which is why I'm saying stay proactive on top of this piece of technology because you're going to be able to do things with it that you were never able to do before. This is a superhuman piece of technology. It can make you incredibly next level in your thinking and the way you do things, and you can be really sharp with it if you choose to be. Or you can be nihilistic and be like, fuck, the game is over, I suck, I'm never going to make it. Well, at that point, I mean, then yeah, there's no cure for that. That just sucks. It's a shitty mindset. So yeah. So I also had my really smart friends who are like PhD professors and things like that talk to me about GPT because I had them look at it and they weren't aware of it either. So one of them, who's a physics professor, he's got a PhD, and he actually was my physics professor back in the day. He looked at the Bloom's taxonomy, which is these categories, and I'll even ask GPT. Make it simple for you. Ask GPT, okay, what is Bloom's taxonomy, right? So it's a framework that organizes and classifies different level of cognitive learning and development, right? So it can remember, understand, it can apply what it's remembering and understood, it can analyze, it can evaluate, and it can create. So basically, he told me, he said, hey, GPT, it's really crazy. It can compare things, it can contrast objects, it's able to recognize properties between objects, which essentially, in short form, is what a graph is, a knowledge graph, which actually is the industry that I work in, which I think is going to see a huge boom. I'm predicting that I'm going to be in the right place here at the right time, and this could be the company that goes to the fucking moon and makes me a fuckload of money. So I'm really excited about that. But at the same time, like just understanding that this has connected data within it is a game changer, because people traditionally have been thinking about data in databases and tables. And that shit is old school, my friend. I mean, that's really good for transactional workflows, for certain types of workflows. But when we're talking about knowledge, when we're talking about actually giving people meaningful things like search results, like ranking what they want to see, graphs are where it's all at. All right. But some videos getting kind of long. And it was an impromptu, but I did want to mention all these things to you guys. And if I come up with more thoughts, I definitely want to share them with you about GPT and about AI technology. But really, my message in its finality is, please don't be scared. Be vigilant in terms of what's happening in the space. Don't sleep on this, because I promise you there's going to be a disproportionate number of people who are going to get further ahead just by paying attention and looking at what's happening and doing a little bit with it. And then there's obviously going to be people that are going to get way, way, way further ahead. They're going to build big businesses out of it. They're going to just dominate the marketplace with it. That's all great. And there's going to be a lot of people who are just going to sleep and kind of get the rug pulled under them. And it really sucks to see, but unfortunately, that's how things are going to be for a while. And I just don't want you to be in that boat. I want you to tell everyone that you know about this technology. I want you to tell everyone how they can benefit from it. Watch as many videos as you can about it if that's the way you learn. But most importantly, start using it. There's only a couple days left. And hopefully by the time this video is out and you're watching it, there's one way or another to still access this technology, as I mentioned, probably through other third-party applications that are built on top of it, and maybe hopefully even directly, because I would be very sad if there's just no way for us to use this after this public preview, and then we're all just stuck with, the tease of it, but not the benefits of it. So hope you found this helpful. This is a very informal video that I just made, and I hope to make more for you in the future. So have a great rest of your day, guys. See you later. Oh, and make sure you subscribe to this channel.